Sareen, I'm grateful to you for inviting me to be here on this very important occasion for your institute. I have known Professor Sareen for quite some time during my working at JNU. Very humble person for his achievements, and he's also a great teacher and a fantastic speaker. I used to love his speeches whenever he came and gave his speech at JNU. Let me also welcome all the newcomers. You are going to start a new journey in this great institute. I just now came to know that there are also parents of the students in this audience. I'm sure it's a proud moment for all the parents to see your kids joining in one of the best institutions in the country. You see there earlier that ILBS is a deemed to be university, but we are working on revising the regulations for the deemed to be university, and soon the Higher Education Commission also will be coming. We are working on the draft act, which will then go to the parliament. When all these things happen, that tag deemed to be will be removed. It will become a regular university. I want to just set the context of the current times. We have just come out of the COVID pandemic. You might have noticed one important that happened in December 2022. If you recollect, on 1st December, India assumed the presidency of G20. As you know, G20 represents 60% of the global population. It represents almost 78% of the global trade. Nearly 85% of the global GDP is contributed by these G20 countries, and nearly more than 90% of the patents generated on earth come from these G20 countries. And it's a proud moment for all of us that India has assumed the presidency of G20 countries, because this is especially important for us, because if you see globally, there are so many geopolitical instabilities, there are failing economic systems, growing inequalities, and deteriorating environment. But on the other side, if you look at India, there is a massive development of infrastructure in our country. New railways, new airports, new ports being built, thousands of kilometers of roads being built. And we have developed a huge digital technology, which is the backbone of the services that we provide to people across the country. As we are speaking, although we are home to 20% of the global population, nearly 40% of the online financial transactions, of the global financial transactions that take place in India. That's the kind of digital backbone technology that we have created. Today, our country is the third largest ecosystem for startup companies. We have close to about 85,000 startup companies. In another few years, these startup companies will reach about 1 lakh in number. And we have more than 100 unicorns in the country. So how did we reach this kind of status among the nations in the world? We are also the 5th largest economy, and we will soon become the 3rd largest economy. This is because of the youth capital that our country has. The median age of our youth is about 27.9 years, and we have nearly 60% of our country is the youth. And it is this youth which is driving the kind of development that is taking place, because they are very, very aspirational. There are many teachers in the audience here. When you interact with the students, you observe few characteristics among these young students. One of the things that you will notice is that they want to be good learners. So if you want to be a good learner, there are many things that you need to do. Cognitive science tells us that if you want to be a good learner, there are certain things that you need to do. But long ago, Adi Shankaracharya has said, if you want to be a good learner, you need to do 4 things. Patanam, Mananam, Chintanam, and Sankirtanam. You have to study first. Patanam. Mananam, you have to remember what you study. Chintanam, you have to critically think. Sankirtanam, you have to repeat the whole thing. That's the only way you can be a good learner. Young people also want to be critical thinkers. They want to question the status quo. They want to question the authority. And as teachers, it is our responsibility to encourage our students to be the critical thinkers. Our students also want to be innovators. They want to be creative. And creativity starts only when you think in multi-dimensional way. That's the reason why in national education policy, we are promoting multidisciplinary education. It is found that when people coming from different disciplines, they meet each other, they share their ideas with each other, that is when new ideas are generated. And that is what is creativity. But we should not end with just generating ideas. We need to add value to the ideas that we are generating, and that is what we call innovation. So today's youth, they want to be creative and innovative. Another important thing that you will notice with our students is that they want to take risks. And that's the reason why today we have so many startup companies in our country. It's a very, very risky business. They want to take risks, but they also want to learn from the failures that emanate from these risks, which is an important aspect of growing in your life. Unfortunately, in our Indian society particularly, we abhor failure. How many of us, when a child comes back and tells that, well, I have failed in my 10th class exam, how many of us will talk to the child in a positive way and make the child feel that this failure is something that you can learn and move forward? This is something that I think as teachers we must tell our students that failing is a normal thing that happens in our life. But every failure should provide us an opportunity to move forward. So taking risks and learning from failures is another important aspect of growing up as a student. As a doctor or as an entrepreneur, you always have to work as part of the teams. You need to be an effective team member, and not only that, you should be able to lead the teams. So how do you become an effective leader? To be able to lead bigger teams to achieve larger objectives in your life. Let me tell you a very, very interesting story from Ramayana. If you want to become a good leader, first of all, you need to understand yourself. Humans do 2 things. One is thinking, the other one is interacting with the external environment, interacting with people around us, doing and thinking. And if you want to effectively interact with people around us, first of all, you need to understand yourself. One day, Lord Sri Rama, he felt very restless because one question popped up in his mind and he could not find an answer to that question. So he walked to the hut where Vashishta, his guru, was living, and he knocked on the door. And from inside, Vashishta shouted back, saying, "Who are you?" Lord Rama says, "Guruji, I have come here to know an answer to this very question. I want to know who am I." So if you want to become a good leader, first of all, you should turn your attention inward and try to understand yourself. Understand what is your potential. That is the first step. And once you understand your potential, the next important thing is to function to the fullest of your potential. These are the two common mistakes as young people we do. Often we don't think inward, we don't try to identify what is our inner potential, and we don't function to the fullest of our potential. And as teachers, it is very important that we encourage our students to function to the fullest of their potential. Let me also tell you that if you want to become, you are carrying out an operation and there are a team of doctors that are working with you and you are leading this operation. So how do you motivate everybody to work collectively so that the operation becomes successful? There are two things that a leader has to do. One, trust your people. Trust the capabilities of your people. Again, let me give you the example of Lord Rama. When he was going in search of Sita, who was in Lanka, he reached Kishkinda. And in Kishkinda, when he was resting, the local people came to see Lord Ram because he was already very popular by then. The local monkeys and other animals came to see him. And once they came to know that he was going in search of Sita, they said, Lord Rama, we will come with you and fight Ravan and bring Sita. Lakshman heard this conversation and he called Lord Ram aside and said, how can they fight with you? Let's send a message to Bharat. Let him come with his big army and we will go and fight with Ravan. Lord Rama says, see, even if Bharat comes here, who are going to feed them? It is the local people. Even if Bharat comes here, who are going to show the way to Lanka? It is the local people. So I am going to trust them. And you see the result. It is these monkeys, it is the local people who went with Lord Ram to bring Sita back. So if you want to become a good leader, you must trust the people in your team. The next most important thing that you need to do is to stand by your team members. You know, there were a group of tribals led by their leader. They went into the forest in search of food. And after searching for a week or 10 days, they found that they could not find any animal, any food. And whatever little food and water they brought along with them, they exhausted and they sat under a tree completely exhausted. And suddenly, one of them, he takes out a small bottle of water and gives to the leader. And the leader asks him, do you have enough water for everybody here? He says, no, I don't have. Then I will not drink. That's the quality of a good leader. You have to trust the people that you are working with you, and you have to stand by the people who are working for you in the team. Let me also tell you one small story. If you want to achieve anything significant in your life, because I heard some of your teachers telling you that you need to be successful in your life. How do you become successful in your life? How do you achieve something significant in your life unless you set a higher goal for yourself in your life? You know, there is a person called Ramanathan Pillai. Ramanathan Pillai had a cat. And as usual during lunchtime, the cat was very hungry and it came out of the house. In the lawn, it was looking for a mouse. It looked at the left side. It saw a small mouse there, luckily. And the mouse also appeared to have seen the cat and it was frozen in fear. And it was about to jump there, but it heard a sound on the right side. When the cat looked at the right side, there was a bigger mouse, but it is far away. It was careless. It was not fearful of the cat. And in a split of a second, the cat has to make a decision. Go for a bigger mouse or go for a smaller mouse. You want to set a higher goal or you want to set a smaller goal? The cat made a decision and jumped on this small mouse. And there was a surprise. When it caught the neck of the mouse, there was no flesh. There was no blood. It was simply a small toy mouse. This is what happens when you set smaller goals, when you are trying to go for low-hanging fruits. Set higher goals and be determined. And whenever there are failures, you must have perseverance, like Bhagirath. Every failure, when it comes on your way, you should learn and move forward. My dear friends, our country has a great hope in young people like you, and it is it is our responsibility for all of us to make sure that each and every Indian in this country, irrespective of the socio-economic background from which they come from, they have the opportunities for their growth. You are a very privileged students. You are few and you got into one of the best institutions in the country. But there are many, many talented students who are unable to join in great institutions such as this. Therefore, a great responsibility lies on all of us as regulators, as government, as individuals to make sure that whatever development that takes place in our country, it is inclusive development, and all of us, we hand in hand move together to make our country a great country. So let me welcome you again to this great country, and I would like to conclude here by again expressing my thanks to Professor Sareen for inviting me to be here. Thank you very much.